Fans killing him on Twitter. We got the footage of this dude attempting to sabotage Shedeur Sanders during the Pittsburgh Steelers game and causing one of Shedeur Sanders' two interceptions. We got to get into this, man. Interception. Look at Cam Robinson on this play, man. Look at him on this play. Come on, man. Come on, man. Sabotage, sabotage, sabotage. That's ridiculous. How does he just nudge you out of the way like that? How does he just nudge you out of the way like that?
Game is over. Why is 68 still in this game? Why is he on the team? Why is he in the NFL? He is the worst lineman I've ever seen in my life. This is the second half. He done gave up a sack. He done gave up 2 false starts. He done gave up a holding. And we're still in our first possession.
Cam Robinson didn't just have a rough night. He had a moment that changed the entire game. One play, one mistake, and now everyone is pointing fingers at who really put Shedeur Sanders in that bad spot. The truth is finally coming out, and the regret is setting in fast. What stands out immediately is how unfair this situation was for Shedeur. Young quarterbacks already carry massive pressure, and they depend on their offensive line to handle one basic job, protecting them. On this play, instead of standing firm, Cam Robinson looks slow, careless, and completely out of sync. Even worse, there is no urgency, no fight, and no awareness of what's happening behind him. Shedeur does exactly what quarterbacks are coached to do, trust the pocket and go through his read. But that trust is shattered instantly. When protection breaks down in such a lazy and sloppy way, the quarterback is left with no real option. That interception didn't come from panic or poor decision-making by Shedeur. It came from a pocket that was never real in the first place. When your lineman barely puts up any resistance, the play is basically over before it even starts. As the game goes on, the problem only gets worse, and that's when the frustration really builds. This isn't a one-time mistake or a tough matchup. It turns into a pattern. Cam Robinson keeps making one mistake after another, killing momentum before the offense even has a chance to settle in. False starts, holding penalties, sacks allowed, all piling up in a short span of time. That kind of performance doesn't just damage the stat sheet, it destroys rhythm and confidence. Every drive starts to feel longer and harder than it should. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is still standing in the pocket, still trying to move the ball, still taking hits that should never reach him. At some point, it stops being about talent and becomes about effort, focus, and accountability. And Cam Robinson shows none of it. What makes this even harder to ignore is that Shedeur Sanders keeps competing through all of it. He doesn't point fingers. He doesn't quit on plays. And he doesn't let frustration show up in his body language. He's trying to lead while being placed in bad situations snap after snap. A quarterback can only do so much when the people in front of him don't hold up their end of the deal. This isn't about sparing feelings. It's about accountability. If a lineman can't protect, can't avoid basic penalties, and can't show awareness, then he becomes a liability, not a teammate. Shedeur deserved better support in that game. And Cam Robinson's performance is a clear example of how one weak link can pull an entire offense down.
Please!
The people have seen enough. The people have seen enough of Cam Robinson. I got footage to get into. Look at these fans. Pretty sure I don't need to watch Cam Robinson play football for a while. Cam Robinson is the worst football player I've ever seen. He's ass. Cam Robinson might be the worst football player I've ever seen. Browns old lineman Cam Robinson shouldn't play another NFL snap. He plays so bad it looked like he cheating for the other teams. Sabotage. It ain't just me that see it. It's not just me. Let's take a look at a former Browns.
At this point, it's not just one person saying it anymore. It's the fans, the film, and the results all telling the same story. People have watched enough snaps to know when something is clearly wrong. And with Cam Robinson, it's obvious. The frustration isn't coming from one bad play or one rough drive. It's coming from repeated moments where the effort looks weak and the awareness looks missing. When fans reach a point where they don't even want to see a player on the field, that says everything. Meanwhile, Shedeur Sanders is out there trying to lead, trying to build confidence, trying to keep drives alive, and he's doing it while knowing the protection in front of him can collapse at any second. That kind of situation forces a young quarterback into survival mode, and that's not how you develop or win games. What makes it even worse is that these mistakes feel less like accidents and more like a pattern that keeps hurting the team over and over again. Missed blocks, bad positioning, and slow reactions make it look like Cam Robinson is always one step behind the play. When a lineman performs like that, it doesn't just affect one snap. It affects the entire mindset of the offense. Shedeur Sanders has to rush his reads, move sooner than he should, and throw under pressure that should never exist. Instead of letting the play develop, he's forced to clean up someone else's mistakes. That's how interceptions happen. Not because the quarterback lacks skill, but because the structure around him completely breaks down. Shedeur continues to show poise, toughness, and leadership. But no quarterback can succeed when the basic fundamentals up front are failing. The fact that former players are pointing it out too only adds more weight to the criticism. When people who play the game at a high level are pointing out the same problems fans are seeing, it proves this isn't exaggeration. Football is built on trust, and Cam Robinson has completely lost that trust. It gets to a point where his presence hurts the team more than it helps, and that's the hard truth. Shedeur Sanders deserves linemen who fight, stay disciplined, and protect their quarterback like it actually matters, because it does. Watching Shedeur take unnecessary hits and still stand tall says everything about his character. Watching Cam Robinson struggle over and over again says everything about why the blame keeps falling on him.
Yeah, and then like you say, that Cam Robinson on that left tackle, oh my God. Yeah. If there's not a stunt where that D-line goes inside and there's nobody covering him, it's a beeline to Shedeur every time. It's like he's not even there. And I literally feel like I could play better left tackle than him at this point. You give me a helmet and some shoulder pads, and I'm at least chop the D in or do something to slow him down. Right now, they're not even getting slowed down, and it's crazy. Yeah.
It's ridiculous. That is a former Browns player, a Super Bowl champion, a Pro Bowler who did it at the highest of high levels.
If you want to stay updated on everything Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns, don't miss out. Subscribe now and hit the notification bell so you never miss a breakdown, analysis, or hot take.